So, Phlegargus first spots his comet in March of 1811, loses sight of it in mid-June. By the time it reappears in late August, it's much brighter, and by October of that year, appears 1.5 times the size of the sun in the sky. And then passed in front of our planet late November, early December, leaving its trail of debris, producing a serial impact, and one meteor hit right here in northeastern Marshall County, Mississippi. And this is the central rebound peak of an impact crater that occurred December 16, 1811. And this is the center point for the entire Mississippi embayment is right here. And this is the first in a series of shock waves emanates out many times to the edge of the embayment. It's almost the exact design as the edge of the embayment. And when it impacted, see this right here? It goes up and around, it comes back around to the other side of this impact crater right here. And when this meteor impacted on December 16, 1811 at 2:30 in the morning, it sent tsunamis over all of Central America, taking the lives of millions of people. The Spanish were already in Tenochtitlan before it was buried beneath 20 to 30 feet of dirt and rock and sand. And it buried over all the cities, all the pyramidal complexes. They uncovered a couple few in the early 1900s, like Teotihuacan and Chichen Itza. But this impact pushed the entire North American continent further up on the Juan de Fuca, shutting off the channel between the island of California. All the cartography prior shows California as being an island. And it doesn't show any Florida Keys before this, and I guess it apparently formed the Florida Keys and expanded the Caribbean Sea all at once, and more than likely deformed the Great Lakes, changed their shape, and this is the reason that the church bells did ring throughout the colonies, all of them. That's not any kind of myth. Any seismograph would have been way off charts, but Richter wasn't even born yet. Caracas, Venezuela was United States' first humanitarian effort, which sent out kind of food and supplies to the survivors. And the Chickasaw had threatened open war in 1809. They forced the U.S. cavalry to remove more than 5,000 squatters off their lands. Right here, just prior to this event, 1810 and 1811. So there really is no reason for them to let their lands go in 1832. And if you check the Office of Indian Affairs, there's nothing there from 1809 to 1832. And so what it was, disaster capitalists came in and made up an entirely false narrative. There's actually nothing at all to argue for the pneumatic seismic zone to have caused anything on that date. And that's pretty much the topography of the embayment, but the tomography shows a deep crease in the tectonic plate right here all the way down underneath the Mississippi River. And the Ozarks on one side and the Appalachians on the other. And the Ozarks are limestone, right, forms the bottom of seas, and that was pushed up from where the Mississippi embayment was curled in towards itself. And there is no other force that's available. So if you go up and you check, you go over to the east, this shows the force from an impact crater at the Mediterranean Sea from approximately 13,000 years ago at the Younger Dryas boundary, and the Black Sea is where the moon had left its electrical scar and came down and impacted right here, and it pushed the entire African plate at the compressional boundary and slammed India into Eurasia. So let's get up here. And that's what formed the Himalayas and Tibetan Plateau. And so once that occurred, and that's the reason why quartzite statues are melted at Tunis, and Lake Titicaca is 12,500 feet up in the Andes with salt water and seahorses in it. And if you take a good look at this, you'll see that all this was actually together at one time. It was Pangea, and everything's been slammed this way and pushed up into that way, so that's what threw Australia off further to the east, and Antarctica to the south, and so that's what occurred about 13,000 years ago. And after that, they tried to rebuild, thinking that they should probably get out of the Tropic of Cancer, Capricorn and Cancer, and rebuild to the north at Hyperborea. And that's about about 10,500 years ago. So then, if you look over here, you'll see what I'm talking about. It's like, okay. So about 10,500 years ago is when the comet hit, and that's when you see that this right here and the Nastapoca arc and all this. This is from the ion tail. You can see the angle, direction, and force of the comet from about 10,500 years ago. The last time Lake Agassiz was emptied out, and you'll see this formed the Hudson Bay, a massive cometary impact right here, and that's why you have gravitational anomalies right in the middle of it. And so that's what sent Greenland on top of Hyperborea, and then it flooded over Lemuria and much of the rebuild, and flooded into the Mediterranean Sea and the Black Sea Basin, as they were dry at the time until this point, and caused a mass accretion, mass extinction event. That's the story of Noah, actually. And so after the moon impacted, it produced magnetic anomalies, and the Mediterranean Sea tried to keep up with the Maria, the two impact sites, and it produced magnetic anomalies all over that side, and allowed for exponential growth. It allowed for massive creatures to take hold. And so once the comet impacted the Hudson Bay and formed the Hudson Bay and sent Greenland on top of Hyperborea, that quickly increased the internal liquid metal jet streams, and it produced excessive amounts of gravity and forced all life to grow much more compact and live much shorter period in time. And then there were just many disasters on different scale out through the periods of time. And so apparently we had kept the knowledge of the chemical reaction of the powers of the pyramids up until this point in time when, like I said, this is what happened. It was a meteor that impacted this spot right here. And when this comet passed by, it produced, believe it or not, this is the formation process for the Carolina Bays, Wetumpka, Wooblu, Middlesboro, Barringen, Arizona, and the Kilmichael structures just below this one. This is the center point for the entire embayment right here in northeastern Marshall County, Mississippi. It was not an earthquake. There was nothing to argue for the numeric seismic zone to cause anything on this date. And this month actually marks the 10-year anniversary of when Miss Susan Huff flew all the way out from Pasadena, California, and toured this central rebound peak of the crater with me together, and she verified my findings, and said this is actually a meteor impact. So I'm hoping that you have the time to go study the satellite views, historical accounts, the impactite rocks, and come to this in your own conclusions, see what I'm talking about. Because this is actually how the West was won. It wasn't so much the smallpox blankets or even the crazy genocide stuff. It was a close passing with Sungrazer C1811F1 comet. And that's why they called it Napoleon's comet. It was already to the Dalton Grand Solar Minimum. They already had temperatures like 3 degrees below zero. And once the comet passed, it dropped them down to 30 degrees below zero, freezing Napoleon's comet and killing many thousands. And it was a complete societal reset. And there's a great book entitled Travels to the Equinoctial Regions of America by Alexander von Humboldt, chapter 13 and 14. He has all kinds of accounts of the disasters that occurred in this area at the same time. Mount Vesuvius erupted, Mount Etna eventually caused Mount Tambora to erupt in 1815 and caused a year without a summer, 1816. So from 1811 to 1817 was actually a mini ice age caused by the close passing of a Sungrazer comet. And that's basically a lot of our history is through astroseismology and shock dynamics and impact physics events. And see what you think about this and go out and explore yourself. Thank you so much for your time.